Hello again. One of the things which I find mildly irritating when debating with liberal and progressive people is their apparent inability or unwillingness to think clearly and pursue any point to its logical conclusion. Discussing ethnicity and race with such people is a pointless, frustrating and time-consuming enterprise, one for which I seldom have the time. It's like trying to pick up quicksilver with a fork. Nowhere is this more noticeable than when attempting to talk about things such as the propensity of some countries to have extremely high rates of murder, while in others the levels are negligible. These trends are all too often repeated in expatriate communities of those from such places. In the description to this video, I give a link to the Wikipedia page which shows the rate of intentional homicides in different countries. Intentional homicide is simply a delicate way of talking about killing people on purpose. The rate of such crimes is expressed in cases per 100,000 of the population. In Britain, this rate is roughly 1.4. In Jamaica, the rate is, by way of contrast, 49.2. That is to say, the murder rate there is more than 35 times as high as it is in Britain. We find the same thing in the rest of the Caribbean. In the US Virgin Islands, for example, the rate is similar to Jamaica. In Singapore, though, the rate is 0.069. This is a 20th of the homicide rate in Britain. In plain terms, this means that the murder rate in Jamaica is 650 times as high as that in Singapore. These are not freakish instances. There is a definite and discernible trend here, and it relates to race. It is the same gradient which we've observed when it comes to things such as academic attainment. Far East, low rates of murder, high academic attainment. White Europeans, medium rates of both. Africa and Caribbean, low rates of academic attainment, intentional homicide off the scale. The orthodox way of explaining this is to talk about poverty, social class, racism and colonialism. And when I say orthodox, I mean, of course, the left-wing quasi-Marxist method, for almost all sociologists are on the far left of the political spectrum. Jamaica and other Caribbean countries, explanation for what's seen, it was colonialism and slavery. The same with Africa. The fact that Jamaicans living in Britain are more likely to be mixed up in violent crime than the indigenous population is, of course, due to racism, poverty and social class. Asking any questions about this particular thesis leads to an infinite regression without really ever getting to the point. Why are Chinese people and Indians in Britain less likely to end up in prison than black people from Africa or the Caribbean? Well, Indians and Chinese people are usually better off in this country than those of African or Caribbean ancestry, and we know there is a link between income and crime. Why are they better off? Because they do better academically, and so are more likely to get well-paid professional jobs. Why do they do better academically? Because there is a cultural tradition of literacy and studying in those nations. Why should this be? I'm sure that viewers will get the point. Each explanation advanced for the disparities seen between ethnic groups is inadequate of itself and requires to be explained by another factor. This process is literally endless, as you will find if you try and debate the subject with left-wing people and anti-racists. We can cut through this verbiage very simply by thinking about the difference between Jamaica and Singapore, one of which has a murder rate 650 times higher than the other. Both countries are islands, and both are artificial colonial constructions of the British Empire and have been equally affected by colonialism. Each was populated originally by forced labour imported by the British. Both achieved independence at roughly the same time. Why then is one so wealthy and peaceful and the other so violent and poor? I will leave viewers to answer this question for themselves, but will leave you with one final thought. Whom would you prefer for a neighbour? A Chinese person and his family lately arrived from Singapore, or a Jamaican family who had just emigrated to this country? Is your choice motivated by racial prejudice, or is it rather actuated purely by pragmatism and an understanding of the nature of the world?